Dominaria has proven that the legendary theme for a set can work very, very well. So why was Kamogawa such a massive failure? Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, and welcome to my video on the differences between Dominaria and Kamogawa, the two legendary sets, and why Kamogawa is a failure, why Dominaria is killing it, my thoughts on the subject, what happened today. I ended up with Knight of Souls Betrayal sitting in front of me, and I was looking at it, and it's such a cool card conceptually. I mean, I was let's talk about Kamogawa first of all, because a lot of you may not know what it is if you haven't been in Magic for a long time. Kamogawa is a block from a while back. It's Japanese inspired. Kamogawa stands for something, it means something like River of the Gods. The concept behind it is Kamogawa is a plane that's far removed. And I gotta say, this is before the day where we dealt with all these different planeswalkers, or not even all that many. There's not that many different planeswalkers, and we'd see all these recurring characters. So these worlds would feel more remote and distant. And Kamogawa is one of these remote feeling planes of existence. And basically what happens there is they have the real physical world like we have here, and they have the spirit world. But the spirit world, like basically every physical object has a spiritual counterpart. Like every single thing. It doesn't matter what it is, natural, unnatural. A cup of tea could have a really minor kind of kami spirit attached to it. My microphone, myself, well, I would have my soul. Now, there is a layer, a veil between the two worlds, essentially, that keeps them disconnected in a way where they can't really interact with each other, the spirit and the physical realm. But because of what had happened with the time rifts in Teleria and all that stuff that happened in the past, it had weakened this wall. So as a result, this Emperor Conda, basically, he went ahead and had his wizards pull part of the all-kami, the great god of all the kamis. He pulled an aspect of this, like a child aspect, like a baby, basically like a baby godling, out of the spirit world into the physical world, and he put it into this stone disc, okay? And while the stone disc existed and the kami was locked in there, that warlord was immortal, okay? He couldn't die. He stopped aging. He became absolutely immortal. But the spirit world went berserk. For 20 years, they waged a war to get that stone disc back, to get part of the all-god of all the spirits back. Now, the general populace didn't know what was going on, right? They had no idea what was going on. They didn't know that Conda had stolen part of the essence of the gods, essentially, and that's why the entire spirit world was revolting. And the thing about these spirits is these kami would keep coming and attacking, and you could defeat them for a short period of time, but they're spirits. They just go back to the spirit world, and then they end up coming back to the real world to cause more problems. So there was all kinds of issues. The reason that Knight of Soul Betrayal really I find so flavorful is this is a legendary enchantment, right? So this is obviously just the idea of a legendary enchantment. You can't have more than one of these out. This is a one-time kind of event. This is the night where everyone's souls betrayed them. All living creatures, the actual spiritual essence of your soul. How can we wage war against ourselves? What happens when the kami of our very souls rise against us? I answer simply, we cannot. We die. There can be no victory in this war. Sensei Hisoka led her to Lord Conda. Now, I don't know if Hisoka knew about it that was taken, which that was taken, which is what they called the spirit that was stolen from the spirit world that made Conda immortal. But anyways, the spirit war is going absolutely nuts. The world that this built in is very flavorful. There's a ton of, in terms of mechanically from the set, there's a ton of legendary creatures in Saviors of Kamogawa, because this was all done under the block format. They had legendary spells, but they were done in an epic fashion where basically once you cast this spell, it would repeat itself every turn, but you couldn't cast any spells anymore. So the idea was that these were spells that were so legendary that they were your final spell that you ever cast, essentially. That level of epic magic. The problem is the epic spells were weak. It wasn't an effect that was good enough to repeat over and over and over in most cases to win you the game. Some of them are okay, but overall, they weren't with that legendary end kind of feel. Dominaria obviously went a different angle with the legendaries. Instead of having epic spells where it's like this repeats every turn, it's like this is a legendary spell which just requires that you have a legend out. Now, sometimes it doesn't work as flavorfully, it doesn't make as much sense, like, you know, from a flavor perspective, but in terms of making playable, powerful cards, that totally works. That is a reasonable restriction that you can work with that lets you make more powerful cards for lower costs. The main difference between Kamogawa and Dominaria, it all comes down to one word. And I've been thinking a lot about this now and what this means for future sets and things. But anyways, it comes down to one word: power. All right? It's really just a matter of the power level of the set, because the world of Kamogawa is actually way more interesting than the new history they have for Benalia and all that stuff they've done on Dominaria. It's definitely cool what they're doing there, but it's not as cool as Kamogawa is, considering the amount of effort they put into Kamogawa compared to the lackluster effort they put in Dominaria. Ever since they started shoving Planeswalkers and the same Gatewatch in over and over, they've started to treat Magic like it's like Chippendale Rescue Rangers. Instead of it being like something we come to go to different worlds, they're like, no, you're here to see these characters and what worlds they're going to, right? It's like, no, it's totally fine to show us a world the Gatewatch hasn't been to. That's totally cool. We can live with that. But power level is really what matters. I mean, the story is cool and everything, but we don't pay that much attention to it. You get blurbs on cards, and people like me may grumble a bit about it, but overall, it doesn't affect the game nearly as much as power level. So Kamogawa was weak in terms of power level. I mean, even this, 4 mana to give all creatures in play -1/-1 isn't that strong. It's on the weak end, because you can only have one of these out. Remember, you can't put multiple copies out because this is legendary. So it's only ever going to be able to give all creatures -1/-1, and that's 4 mana. That's a hefty investment. Now, don't get me wrong. There were some legendary creatures from Kamogawa that were perfectly strong and cool, but overall the set's power level was very low. It wasn't exciting like Dominaria. Dominaria has a nice level of power. The reason Kamogawa had a low level of power was it was intentional. They had to nerf the power levels because they had screwed up with Mirrodin, and they had put out stuff that was way too powerful and was accessible by way too many colors. You'll find that Wizards of the Coast, a lot of the problems they have tends to be with colorless cards. That tends to be the things they have to ban the most. Issues cause them those problems because they can't foresee all the issues that will crop up with them. So Mirrodin was an insanely powerful block that had a lot of problem cards and ruined Standard. Standard was Affinity ugly for a while because of that. So they needed to swing the power level back down lower, and they did that with Kamogawa. Now, I can't say whether that was a mistake or not. It was probably a good idea, but the end result was Kamogawa did not get much love, and still, like, it's taken a long time. Some of the cards are starting to get love. People have moved far enough away from it. Once you get far enough away in Magic history from it, a bunch of players who lived through it and stuff don't have that. So people can look back at it through the lens of history and feel differently about it. But in terms of, like, uncommons, if you look at things like Danitha, you know what I mean? Like, some of these uncommons are really strong for what you get. Like, if you compare them to the uncommon legendary creatures from the Kamogawa block, there's no comparison. The uncommon creatures that they made in Dominaria are almost all really good, and you could see them printing them as rares, and if you looked at it as a rare, you wouldn't feel like it was out of place. So they've printed legendaries that could be rare as uncommons, whereas Kamogawa had, like, weaker uncommon legendaries that felt like uncommons. So you've got, like, 20 uncommons or so in the set, 17 roughly, I think, actually. 17 uncommons in the set that really lend to that powerful feel. And most sets only have a few power uncommons, and this set still has those as well, not even including the legendaries. You still have powerful uncommons. You got the Sphere, you got Cast Down, you got multiple options, not even listing them all. So Dominaria has a lot of power to it without it feeling like it's massively overpowered or unbalanced. It feels like they hit that right power level. They can't just print, because some people will be like, oh, they should just print like all the cards that people love and whatever. You can't put too much power in, because then you have a problem like Mirrodin. They do actually have to walk a fairly fine line. It's a difficult job that they have, getting the balance right, because people think, oh, if you just do that, if the game isn't kept fun, then you're gonna have a problem, and too much power can totally make a game unfun. You need to have the right power balance. So really, the lesson that the failure of Kamogawa teaches us is that power balance matters, and you can't swing too low either. Mirrodin was too high, Kamogawa was too low. They're like porridge, right? You know what I mean? Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Well, Dominaria Dominaria's just right. So, Kamogawa is more flavorful, but in the end, story, all that, nothing really matters. What matters the most is what's under the hood. You can put whatever paint job you want on the car, but what's inside the car, what's under the hood is going to matter a lot more. So that's my opinion on why Kamogawa was a legendary failure and Dominaria is killing it. And hopefully going forwards, this is the kind of balance we'll see more of. Will that actually be the case? I don't know. But either way, thanks for coming by, guys. If you didn't come by for the 6K subscriber live stream last night, well, congratulations to all of us. We did it, 6,000 subscribers. Thanks for being a part of what I do. I feel really lucky to get to do this. I will see you guys later. And if you're not on my Twitch, get on there because we're going to have some more Twitch fun soon. Peace! All right, and as a final note, welcome to the newest Golden Lord of Purple, Ryan Duncan. Welcome aboard, my friend. Thanks for joining my Patreon. We will see you in the end scroll. Lol. It's sounding sadder the further I go. So I put the glasses on because I'm sad. I'm a motherfucking sad boy.
Hi everyone. Together, we are the sixth color of magic.